If we do our job, we get to build together. If we just use them as a top of funnel and feed it and feed it and feed it and then get rid of them like a lot of agencies do, it doesn't make sense to me. If I grow the company, then he's going to pay me more as time goes on.
All right, so here we are back again with the infamous Melcher brothers from DAS Agency, Digital Agency Support. These guys have been working in the Google space for a long time, primarily in the paid ads version of it, but not just Google, but all of the paid ad spectrum, right? But primarily focused in the Google space originally.
Original version, yeah. That's where we came from.
Right.
And hit a little milestone, April of 2024. That was 10 years of the company.
Wow.
Reaching that long. I mean, that's something to brag about. Most companies fail in 3 to 5, and we had a 10-year anniversary, which was kind of nice to promote amongst ourselves anyway. Real proud of that, you know.
And still have most of our original clients.
Yep. We don't lose clients. Not if we can help it. Because it's if we do our job, we get to build together. If we just use them as a top of funnel and feed it and feed it and feed it and then get rid of them like a lot of agencies do, it doesn't make sense to me. If I grow the company, then he's going to pay me more as time goes on.
So let's talk about that really quickly, because most people are very confused. That's actually a good jump off point right there, right? Because I think there's different models of how people charge.
Sure.
Right?
100%.
Okay, would you lay back, what is typical if I were a business guy looking for services, somebody to run my paid ads, what's typical?
A local company, or are you a mid-major? What are you?
Let's start with just a local mom and pop, right? I'm just looking to just market here locally. What does that look like?
Local, small business, usually we set that up mostly as a flat fee. More often than not. Many times what we'll do, because we want to grow, we want them to grow too. So we kind of do it like fiduciaries do. We set a base, and this is what it is every month, or this if you spend more on advertising. So it's a base or 10% of your ad spend, let's say. Most companies are 15 up to 25%. We pretty much cap at 10. We don't go over 10%.
10% of ad spend, and that's the
if it's larger, if it's larger than the base.
Monthly cost. Right. And I assume there's some sort of setup fee, surely, right?
Yeah, there's an initial setup. Small business, it's pretty light. You know, we're not building a mausoleum to them, and it makes it pretty easy.
And from that
$500,000 maybe set up
to get it set up,
right?
And it worked out.
And it depends on what you want. Are you looking for Facebook? Are you looking for local service ads? Are you looking for Google search ads? I mean, it's all a little bit different.
Oh boy,
how many platforms are we using?
So the ad spend obviously varies per platform, right? Some are more expensive, so the ad spend's higher. So does that percentage adjust?
Well,
as you get
in all honesty, and this is hard, small businesses don't do very good.
I'm not trying to put you guys on blast.
No. Small businesses don't do a very good job of identifying their budget. I want to know what's your yearly budget, and it should adjust. It can adjust through the year, but what is your yearly budget? Give me an amount. And then as something is working, I can move a little more money over here. But what most places do is they say, I can afford this monthly. And they look at it as a monthly expenditure, which means I can't make adjustments because I pretty much am locking in at that month so that the system only runs at that amount. Whereas if I've got a budget, and this is what larger companies do, they say, you've got $500,000 this year to spend. So maybe depending on the company, they have an upswing in the spring. Maybe they're a school and they do enrollment times. Well, I want to spend a lot more during the pre-enrollment period than I want it to around Christmas vacation, But maybe a retail store, I need to spend a whole lot more in the September, October, November period, and then I back off after Christmas. But if they just give me a monthly spend, I'm locked into that monthly spend. And I'll do whatever the client wants. But the proper way to do it is have a budget for the year, expect to spend that, and then I'll adjust to that. And over the years, the data over the years tells me what to do. I know when to increase. I know when to decrease. I know that in November, I need to up it because all the landscapers are, they're, what do they call that? I'm not a landscaper. Scalping. They're scalping and seeding. So we want to advertise before that happens, not while it's happening. It's over. They've already booked who their landscapers are. Right. All that stuff. Snowplow. We got the snowplow company up in Oregon. And we shut him down to almost zero. We keep a little bit going for history because you want to keep your history moving through the summer, but it's not a great time for snowplows, you know. But his budget spikes, going into the end of summer because people start to book, businesses start to book to have stuff cleared.
Gotcha. Well, that makes sense that you need to fluctuate with the season, especially if you have a seasonal business.
Right.
Yeah, right. I mean, that makes total sense. So when you get back to the setup fees, that setup fees typically is applicable per, I assume, per channel, right? Well,
So I think platform's a better word. Yeah.
per platform.
Per
Yeah.
platform, yeah, typically, and it all depends on what you're willing to do and wanting to do. Most small businesses will usually stick to one or two, and so there's not massive setup fee, because
They can't swing
they
that.
don't have the budgets for it, and they just don't have the bandwidth or the budgets to go ahead and be.
Yeah, if you only have 5 trucks and you're an AC company and I get the 5 trucks moving and busy, you can't until you get more trucks, it doesn't make any sense. Right.
So, okay, well, that, not totally makes sense. I mean, and I say that's kind of part of the process when somebody sits down is to determine what platform should you really be considering.
Yeah, that's a big part of it is.
And having the ability to try other platforms. Now, this is probably a little bit higher than the mom and pop, but having the ability to reach out and try, we'll try it on Substack. That's a new one. We'll try it on Blue Sky. We don't know if it's going to work. We don't have a lot of data on that stuff yet. It hasn't been around for years.
Never heard of Blue Sky or Substack.
They're alternatives to X or Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but they're out there. They're being used, and there's ads on them.
So you guys are running ads on all these platforms.
Yeah, the ads will pop up pretty much anywhere online, and there's just a couple different platforms that you can use depending on where you want them to show up or who you want them to show up to.
On the Google platform, you're going to go out to some of those that you're not even. You're going to go out to multiple platforms, but you can also sometimes get a better pricing if you specific. What do you use? Pandora, don't you? On the one, didn't you use Pandora or
Pandora, but
or Spotify or one of them? I can't remember. I was just using
a little bit of podcasting in that area on it.
Okay.
But no, a little bit more some of the Taboola or some of the other DSPs, which is digital service platforms that push them out to
multiple,
right, all over the internet. Basically, if you're on.
Right. And you don't have as much control when it does that. So sometimes if you see one through analytics that maybe is scoring for you, maybe you want to go to that platform specifically and say, hey, let's advertise on this specifically, and we're gonna use their platform and try to get a better.
Okay, that provoked another question. Then. Okay, so on these platforms, so let's just say you use one of these, a DSP.
DSP. Yeah.
Right. And so how are you getting individual data back from each platform? You're just putting a different, not like a cookie. What was called
Pixels, cookies, or cookies. Facebook says pixel, Google says
tracking pixels, that kind of stuff.
So you just have a separate one for each channel license.
Yes, each one will have its own channel. You'll also get reporting back through analytics that kind of picks all of it up.
Right. And you can see the
reporting platforms.
Platform analytics, or are you talking about that? You just Google analytics, or
there are other reporting programs out there that you can install, and it'll pick up all of the traffic that comes to your website. Whereas like the Facebook Pixel and something like that picks it up when it goes to Facebook.
So I thought, yeah. Okay. So,
well, that's some of that tree money you were talking about. Sometimes when we're setting up a larger client that has the ability to do some of this more advanced stuff, we have to purchase different DSPs, different things.
Reporting platforms, depending on what they're looking for.
Theirs might be $10,000 to set up, because I've got to buy in, and then at the beginning of each year, I'm going to buy in again, so they can assume that's going to be part of an expense. So,
and I assume so if you have to buy at multiple locations, it's probably per location as well. There's probably a lot of factors come into.
Sure.
Yeah, and again, the per location also depends on how different they are. How it may be just a single larger setup fee, not one for each one, because sometimes you can just.
And on that location stuff, we've had a lot of practice with this. You've got to learn too. So, to use the schools. Okay. Paul Mitchell schools. If you're by yourself in Idaho and you have one school and that's pretty much it, yours is a little bit different setup than a school that's in Dallas, Fort Worth, that's dealing with 9 other schools in that same area.
Paul Mitchell schools.
Gotcha. Multiple owners, multiple franchises, or even the how many of your, I know, and I'm lost. I brain farted. It was Monday. Avita, you're the
Aveda? Yeah.
yeah, Avita. You know,
You
or
got-
or is it I or those? Yeah.
We're dropping these names all over the place. Oh, hope they are okay with it.
Companies, they're good. Free promo. All right. So sure, it's just depending if you say you have a lot of competition.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You're going to use a different setup. You're going to have to go after it differently. You're going to have to list your competitors. You're going to have to use them in your keywords so that when somebody types in, your why not results, but somebody types in DOS, you want to show up. And no, I'm going to show up above you, but maybe they want to try the next one down. Why wouldn't you go off my keyword? I'm going to go off yours. That's for sure.
Right. Well, and that was a different client opportunity that came about. They were complaining about that very thing. So that's really it's intriguing. So the setup is obviously okay. So that's where you begin. You're gonna help determine where I should be based off my business and where my target demographic likely lives. Right.
And as we get data, that's going to change.
And so depending if people are going to so part of this setup process is
Yeah, give me 3 months for me to even start to dial it in for you. It's not a switch. I can't flick a switch.
Well, and forget the setup process. Step one is to have the conversation with the business owner, find out what they want, find out what they're looking to do, and find out what their budget is. Because until you know those basic things, you can't decide what platform they should be running on. I mean, if they are running a $10,000 a month budget, it's a lot different than if they're trying to run a $1,000 month budget. $10,000, if it's a smaller business, you might be able to spread that out across a couple platforms. If you're running $1,000, you're pretty much limited to just one. We're going to go with the basics and we're going to, so it kind of depends on your budget. And
Yeah, we're going to spend $33 a day. That's what you're spending on your advertising at $1,000 a budget. So
not a lot.
no, and then you're spending more at Starbucks for your front office, and people think they're spending a lot. I'm sorry, they do. It's not.
Yeah, I don't know. So, and do you find that people are, do they increase their budget obviously as they have some leads and sales come in? Or do they kind of stick with that 1,000? Oh, 1,000 is a bring me business. So I'm going to.
depends on the person. Honestly, it depends on the person and it depends on the business because, like he was talking about with the HVAC or with the hair schools, there's a limited amount that you can book. So they may be at their max until they expand their business, So again, you're going to hear this over and over again. The answer is
Depends.
Right. And here's what we hear for business owners. This is what we get every time, and we kind of look at each other and roll our eyes because we're going to hear it from every client. Well, if it works, I'll spend more. That's what everybody says, and that's a very valid thing to say. But we have to start with, well, if you spend more, it'll work faster. Because I've got to get
Yeah, I love this. If you spend more, it'll work faster.
Yeah, people always like to hear that.
Yeah.
But it's all about data.
And it does make sense.
It's all about the data. If you only have, 4 people that have bought from you in the last month because you weren't spending very much money, it's hard for us to decide what levers to pull because we don't have enough data to figure out what's working and what's not. So it'll just take longer.
Right.
We'll still get there, but it's going to take a longer time to dial in each of the individual.
I almost won't sign a client unless they're willing to commit to 3 to 6 months. It's going to be, depending on the size and everything. And larger companies, they like I said, they're better at it. They give you a budget. They say spend this amount this year, and they don't care. They want to see the reports, and at the end of the year, you can say, well, I still got 10,000 in the kitty. We'll roll that over to next year, or we spent right up to the end, and that got us this. Do you want to increase, or where you at? I mean, that's so much easier for us to deal with.
Yeah, well, I mean, most small businesses are so hand to mouth, right?
Yeah, they really are. You work a lot harder on a small business because he needs the lead now.
Right.
And the big business is just looking at as that's a cost of doing business. I've got money.
Well, and bigger businesses do branding, which almost no small business does. And it really should. I mean, you look out there, and my example I always use is, hey, have you ever heard of that company called Budweiser? Of course you have. And they keep branding anyway, even though everybody knows who they are. You see an ad on TV, nobody runs out and buys a Budweiser that day. It's not about that. It's about getting to know the brands. And larger business data. Yes. Bam, bam, bam. And larger businesses do that, and almost no small business do. They do direct marketing. They want it now, and they need it now. And that's great to keep their business going. It's hard to keep it going long term if people don't know who you are and where you are.
Well, so it sounds like the same old
Yeah.
problem. It's just hard to get over that hump, right? the small business guy wants to become like mid-sized business guy, but it's just hard to justify that budget and have faith enough in your company to go put $5,000-$10,000 a month.
And that's a big nut if you're,
Totally is a big nut. And again, and I think,
for a little guy.
and that probably keeps a lot of the little guys out because it's hard to just all of a sudden find guys like yourself. How do you know who you can trust?
Right.
Well, that's when they end up in the cookie cutters, which we are pretty much against,
Totally.
Oh, I've got this program and we just plug you in and it goes.
And that's
Well,
it's got a bad taste, but
fit your budget.
yeah, but that's all. You got your $500 a month gone.
Gone.
Look out for it. And digital marketing doesn't work.
Right.
Doesn't work. I already tried paid ads. I don't need to talk to you.
Right. And that's the other reason why you want to talk to somebody to get more of a holistic marketing plan. Because if you go into somebody that just does SEO and you talk to them, or you go to somebody that just does Google ads and you talk to them, their answer is going to be, you should do SEO or you should do Google ads, which maybe you should, but maybe Facebook would fit better. Or
Right.
maybe, you don't know as a business owner, most likely, the Google ads person or the SEO person, they're not going to know either if they're not holistic, in all types of marketing that does all kinds of different things, or at least knows enough about it and is honest enough to be like, hey, it might be a better fit if you find somebody that does Facebook,
Right.
And almost no business will ever do that because every business wants the business.
Well, and a lot of models out there for marketing companies, and they have a whole team of people that are doing exactly that. They're keeping their hopper full because they know that the average client's going to be with them about a year and then fade away because it didn't work like they wanted. So they just need to keep that hopper full all the time. Lots of businesses go about it like we do, though. If I get you into my business model and we work together, then you're going to be a client for life, as far as I'm concerned, because I need to grow with you and you need to grow with me. So let's work together.
Could you make more as I spend more on my 10%, right? That was $1,000 or $10,000.
Yeah.
That makes
I make more money over years than I make over a one-time hit you and forget you. That's, but there's all kinds of business models out there. I know those work for some. Somebody just wants that quick and get it done and doesn't. I'm going to sit with somebody and ask questions. I want to know about their business. I want to know how long they've been there. I want to know what their tagline. I want to know what worked. I want to know what didn't work. I want to have that conversation. It's important.
And up until this point, I have been talking pretty much from the agency point of view because, as you know, we had started this, but through the years, I've kind of branched off and I am more like a CEO for a mid-sized business. And I can tell you that I'm in the other end of hiring agencies. I'll hire SEO companies. I'll hire PPC companies. And for the different brands that we do, what I have found is the best thing I can do is fail fast. I'll hire somebody because everybody will sell you, the moon, and it doesn't matter who you are. It always sounds good because salespeople are good. So I've had some misses. I've had some big wins. We stick with the big wins, but I've come to the realization that you need to fail fast. You need to have somebody for 3 months. If you know it's not working at 3 to 4 months, it's time to pull the plug.
So that's funny. We're even though we own a company together, but we do different stuff too. We have other versions of our lives. I'm going just the other way, where it's like I'm an agency and I'm working with that model that says, hey, you got to give me 3 months to 6 months to dial this in before you make a decision, because I want you to commit to that in the beginning and then make a decision. But don't hang on to me if I'm not working.
While I completely agree with that for the majority of people, since, if you're a HVAC owner, you don't really know, that you're not making any money, but you don't know how the marketing aspect works. Me being more of a professional, I know at 3 months,
You're looking at the same result.
is speaking the right language or not.
Right.
Or
Or whether the salesman did a good job.
right. Or if the salesman did a good job, if the platform's not working, I know from the data. I don't have to rely on.
kind of really confused with the data because you're saying that, fast and furious, 3 to 4 months with one of your vendors, but you're out, but that's because you're also a marketing professional, so you know what to look for.
Right.
So the average guy who doesn't know what to look for, a guy like myself, you're saying that it's probably more logical to stick around at least 6 months, right? To give it their shot.
Yeah.
And so
3 months for me to acquire the data and 3 months for me to adjust the data.
And so I should be looking at a 6-month and capital injection, and at that point, I should be picking up additional sales
If
at a minimum. If it takes that long, but I should go to at least that long, is what you're.
You should already be seeing positive motion by the 3-month mark. So you go to the right
In
direction.
positive motion, I guess that depends on the campaign, right? Some people might want different things. No, I did 15 minutes leads, but not everybody would necessarily want.
Right.
Those are, again, those beginning questions. What is a guy who walks in a shoe store makes a decision, either walks out of the shoe store or buys shoes. That's an immediacy, or something online that they buy. But if your sales process, it takes us, when I begin and meet a client out of the blue, I know we're not going to probably close that client for 4 months to 6. That's my lead time.
And that's as early
For me to learn.
time.
Sometimes it's a year or two later because they've got contracts with somebody else. And although they might be shopping now, those contracts aren't done for the 6 months or the year with another marketing agency before they can ever flip to me. So depending on the business, that time frame is immense of what is a sale. Insurance, right? Which is your bag. Rarely does it happen the first time you meet them, does it? On the warm, cold, unless they've been pre-prepped by somebody else.
Oh, typically it does, honestly.
Is
I'd say by and large, yeah.
Okay.
It's usually an initial meeting, is usually typically a close.
Because I would meet 3 of you
If
before
they lied, quantity. Everybody knows what insurance is. When they come in, they want to buy it.
Yeah, one, maybe it's just the person they're dealing with too.
Maybe we're just, Ida's a great salesman. Is that what you're saying?
Educator. I'm a great educators. It's pretty easy, but you put the information out there and let them make the decision.
But you understand what I'm saying. There's different lead times to get to that sale point. So if you run a marketing company and your sale time is 6 months and you end that marketing campaign at 3 months and say it didn't work, well, how do you know? You haven't got to your end time yet. So understanding that's important too.
Well, and the other day I sent you one of the two, both of you, maybe a text, a picture that somebody sent me, a friend of mine who's
I should have wore a plaid shirt. Is that what you sent?
that way. Yes, that got a plaid shirt. So disappointing. Right? There's that. This kid is doing his own thing.
Right.
Yeah. But, again, the metrics look bad from his paid ads company that was doing this. He wasn't happy.
Right.
But it was really interesting, the responses I got back from you guys. Like, well, there's a positive trend going on. These numbers show positive growth. It's kind of like, so what the end consumer is expecting, or in this case, end business owner, again, they're just expecting leads. At least he was, right? He wants his phone ringing. If his phone's not ringing, it doesn't matter if he had additional traffic to his website. He'd care less about that.
Well, and that's good info for us too, because again, back to the shoe store, I need to know how many people I drove into your shoe store. And if they all walk out and didn't buy, that's not my fault. I drove you people,
Totally agree with that.
but the fact that you couldn't close them,
Right. Yeah, that's a sales process
Right.
issue.
That-
That's not a market.
All the times we'll listen to phone calls, chance it is a sales process. You've got an irritating sales clerk. You got horrible prices. Your store is just a mess. There's something
Whatever
we
it may
can
be, yeah.
control in some of those situations.
But you're held accountable.
Yeah, of course.
You sent me a bad lead. Where are you bringing these people from?
Baby syndrome.
Yeah.
You can't tell anybody their baby's ugly. Now you can't go. I mean, that is part of what we try to do.
it's hard.
And the marketing's
Most people,
People are so wrapped up in their business. They speak business speak, and they're like, "Oh, I want this kind of client who knows this, 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 and this." And it's like that's almost never the people that come to them. It just isn't. It doesn't work that way.
and it all kind of depends. That's part of what we have to do. You have to try to have those conversations with all your clients. It's easier to have them up front to explain that. And we're saying storefront, but in the world nowadays, the website's often your storefront.
It is.
So you have to go through and you do a conversion rate optimization and go through and tell them, the least amount of clicks you can get to that sale is usually the best path. So you have to go through and be like, oh, you can knock out 3 steps here.
I have a good story for a client in Oregon, right? He sells water tanks. Big water tanks go in the ground, above ground tanks, the big sell item, right? And for the first 2.5 years, he swore up and down that he needed them to fill out the information before they were able to buy the product. Okay, the way his website was set up, they had to give all this info that people don't like to give before they really got to find out what the product cost. Now, he stuck with us and we drove traffic and he did okay, but getting him to understand that website was slowing us down so much. It's the more clicks you have to do, the more chance you're going to bail.
Sure.
And if I can get them to that page that says, this is what it costs, this is what you're getting now, a squeeze page, a capture page, I got a better chance of getting the client. I still want to get the other data at some point because you got to make the sale, but not at the beginning of the sale. That took years. Now he's humming. He loves us.
Well, and that's the thing that comes into play when you're asking about setup and costs and stuff like that. If we go in and we look at it and we're like, well, I can tell you, I can run all the ads to your website, but it's not going to convert very well, most likely. Well, now they need to update their website and do other things. So they don't need to, but to make it as effective as possible, you need to go ahead and optimize as much as you can. Right? You want to have end caps in your store when you go in. There's certain,
But in times, that's their baby. Oh, my nephew's cousin's uncle built my website. It's the greatest thing.
But it's not converting.
'Cause
What
they're-
does conversion mean? Yeah, right. And you have to educate them on conversion.
Right. And then you get into ROI. Oh my gosh, ROI. What do you make on a product? How long does it take to get to what you make on a product? How much do you need to make on the product before I can even set up analytics to tell me if I'm making any money? And so many small businesses really can't tell you that breakdown very well. Walmart can tell you that everybody that walks through their door is worth 11. This is 2021, so not current. Walmart knew that everybody who walked through their door was worth $11. It didn't matter if they bought something or if it was a child that didn't have any money. They calculated it down to that factor. Everybody who came through the door, even in and back out and turn around, $11. So driving business through that door was important. Some were paying 100, some were paying 300, some were buying nothing. $11, everybody. People don't know that.
Well, that's kind of interesting because it wouldn't be that hard to figure out that metric, right? I mean, just got your traffic count, you got your revenue. You know, I mean,
there's another metric that they all have a hard time. Lifetime value of a client.
Right.
Because depending on your business, you could have a subscription-based business, or you could have a business that you know that if somebody comes into your restaurant, they're coming back 20 times because you got the best food in the world. So without knowing the lifetime value of your client, if somebody comes back and buys 20 times if they come in once, well, now we can pay 2 to 3 times as much as it costs you on that initial. You're going to lose money the first time they come in the door. I mean, not you're going to, but you could lose money and
Sure.
it can still be wildly profitable.
Right.
Without knowing the lifetime value of your customers. It's hard for us to make the determination on how much we can spend.
and how are you ever going to, you're never going to convince me of that, right? So either as a business owner, I either know that or I don't.
Or we can help you figure it out depending on the data that you have available. Sometimes you can't based on that.
This gets back to circling back to the types of the size of business that you're working with. The small mom and pop guys just don't have time to collect that data, don't understand that data, and therefore never probably that's what keeps them from reaching that next level.
Right.
Well, we're local, and it's important, I think, to be a part of the community and be active with local businesses, which we are. But I don't make money on the local stuff much. No, nowhere near what as regional, national brands.
Well, that makes sense. So okay, that's a good question. So what would you say the average gross sale is of the people who, not gross sales, but like I know that you said that
$3.12.
no, but the average, the average business sales level. What'd you say? Is it like is this an average $1 million a year business that you're usually dealing with? Is this in a 500,000? Is it just
That's not fair for us. I don't his word. Yeah, I mean, we have
what's
the lowest.
you're seeing?
The lowest.
Yeah, that are actually doing paid ads.
Uh,
Lowest gross annual sales.
we have a model that we use for local businesses. That is a $500 setup and $100 a month.
Well, no, I'm not talking about year cost.
No, I know, but I mean that's what we charge them, and it's kind of a set it and forget it. Run the business. They want to look up. It comes up in maps. It shows up. It gives them the basic, foundational stuff.
What would you guess their sales are at? You were to guess?
Well, and again, that's hard because that's the local service ads, and that runs everything from
Had dentists to accountants to
accountants,
Yeah.
HVAC. I mean, it's all over the board. I mean, everyone has the seats.
So maybe I'm not phrasing the question properly for what the answer I'm looking for here. I'm just trying to.
Well, tell us what the answer is, and we'll give you the question.
Are you guys brothers? You guys, what is this?
According to our mom.
Are you twins or?
No, I don't got a plaid shirt on.
Thanks, brother.
Go by away.
No, and I guess point where I was trying to get to is like kind of what business size is typically, or what sales level is usually. Is that a mom and pop that's only seeing 30,000 a month? Is it 100,000 a month business? I'm just kind of, but I guess it's such a bloated question. Don't even worry about it.
Because honestly, even if they're making $50,000 a month, what's their profit? If they don't have any profit, they're not spending anything on advertising.
Right.
If it's pure profit because it's a service, then they can spend more. So
I mean, let's be realistic. Most businesses should run a model. I mean, this is extremely basic, right? A third should be going towards marketing, advertising, things of that nature. A third should be going towards operating costs, and a third should be your profit. But how many businesses?
Ooh, you obviously weren't in the restaurant business.
Well, your margins are much smaller,
30% profit. It's good stuff.
right? It's an easy food to shoot for. Yeah, I bet.
Right. So let's jump back over to, because I was talking earlier about the multi-location thing.
Okay.
So I'm really kind of head spinning on that. So obviously I've heard you talk about there's a big difference between a local business opposed to a national based business, right? So what about a local business who has different locations though? All right. How does that, is that, because that's not a national thing.
No.
No,
It's a different ad spend concept.
sure. I mean, what might work in West Phoenix may not work in Chandler, down in Mill City. It might not be the same, you know. So again, you want to get to know the area, you want to know you want to know how far to reach out, you want to encroach on each other's boundaries, and you want to tailor the message to the area. I would
But you're typically gonna recommend that people have a budget per location versus a budget for the company.
well,
Or is the budget for the company?
no, I was just if it's a corporate entity and they've got multiple locations, let's say Oregano's local business, but
Mhm.
multiple locations, I would think they would decide who needed the most money and send it that way, or they could say we have this much, put it where we need it, which would be what I would like better. Or they could be a franchise of Oregano's, and then each owner is going to spend what he's willing to spend, and the overall corporation is going to say, make sure your ads and your messaging meet our requirements, which we have dealt with many times too. So,
So once again,
both.
depends.
It depends.
It depends on the
Different
structure
power,
of
you
your
guys. Everything depends.
Sure. Yes. Yes, we're getting older. We know.
It's like the safety net. Just what's the answer? It depends.
Right.
Come to us with this question. Say, hey, I'm this kind of business. I got excellent locations. I'm not a franchise. That's why we have to meet the people to find out, because we need to know the specifics before we can give you the.
And if you call an agency and they have a plan for you before they've even met with you, hang up and call another agency.
That's a good tip right there. Serious. I mean, and that is actually a really valid point. If they say, hey, this is our package. So people call us about video. Well, I'm like, well, we don't really have a video package because everything's different.
We tried a couple different, free local video. We tried a couple different package stuff when we first started out because we were learning too. And it's a great way because you get your lines down and to go out and sell it, but it never works like you want it to. It ends up being messy in the end because they're have an expectation because you're a sales.
You know why? Because it depends.
Oh, damn. But we've done it too. We've done the package.
So even when you're in front of somebody that you're selling, trying to talk to them as you're talking to them, if you're doing what you're supposed to, as they're telling you their needs, you're realizing that this thing is, so you're automatically changing your own package right in mid.
Well, that's what we do. But when you have salespeople, they're selling the package.
Right. They need a package to start with.
Right. They got to have something.
Just that's kind of more cut and dry. We've created our little 225 starter, get in the door package.
Right.
But we see it instantly.
This is our copper. This is our silver. And this is our gold.
Yeah, and even that, we've even gotten away from the business podcast to just making it more
Podcasts?
more open. Even regardless, we've even had some people that are just realtors who just want to send in their footage from their phone. And so just some video editing.
Okay.
So we found, but it's interesting how podcasts, everybody understands the concept. Like we can all picture that.
Right.
And so people understand when you say video podcast, like people can think of that easily. You just bring up to a business owner, we're going to do video. It's kind of like just saying to somebody, you're going to do paid ads.
Right.
What? Paid ads? What? They don't know where to go. Where's it going to be?
Paid ads is radio. Paid ads is billboards. Those are paid. That's all paid ads.
So
it's not what I do, but that's
ads are paid ads.
I know. Not SEO. You actually spend usually more on SEO. It seems like.
Yeah, tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
So, all
right. We say the words SEO. We should reaffirm that too, right? SEO is like what Justin does, right? So it's search engine optimization.
You're making organic traffic. If it doesn't say sponsor,
what do you mean by organic? Search result. Tell them what you mean by organic, because those are words we understand.
And that's what I was saying. When you SEO can fit into a few areas, but mainly it's in the search world. So if you go and you search something, you come up with all your different results. You got the the pictures of the ads with the prices,
Okay.
that
I'm
shopping.
confused. That's not SEM.
No,
Okay.
but that's not SEM or SEO.
So now we're just
Yep.
confusing each other.
So all I'm saying is you have all the different results. The results that are SEO are the ones that do not say sponsored anywhere on there, and they pop up, and you don't have to pay every time somebody clicks on them. They click on it, it's free. That's organic traffic. It was the original Google. Then when you would search, they didn't have any ads. All search results were organic originally before they got into their monetizing Google, which has been
Right.
around forever now.
And SEO tends to be more nebulous, whereas paid advertising is more specific. I'm looking for a 35-year-old who's this, and lives in this area and wants to buy boots, who has an income of approximately here to here. SEO really isn't that tight.
Yeah, you can choose personas in search engine marketing, the paid ads section of it. You can say, I only want to serve ads to people over 65. SEO doesn't quite work that way. It is more based only on the keywords, but it's also good for driving more top of funnel traffic, driving people to your blogs, getting them on your website so that you can then later remarket to them and stuff like that.
Right.
SEO, it all has its own, there's a need for all of it. It's in different areas in order to get your business where it needs to be past just mom and pop
Yeah.
and scale it.
Somebody reading your blog is great, and they may never click on your ad, but I want to know that they read your blog. So I get a list of those individuals out of the analytics from the SEO, and then I target them with remarketing ads for specific things that they've focused on in reading your blog. I can go after them a little bit more specifically. Now, maybe they didn't want boots, but they were really reading a whole lot about hiking. So they don't like hiking boots. Maybe I should be sending them tennis shoes. So I'll try that, and you'll go after it. Everybody knows the story where they say they're talking about red shoes, and that night they look at their phone and there's an ad for red shoes. Well, there's a reason for that. We're tracking you.
Tracking, you see that thing?
Well, or you buy a new Ford truck, right? And you start looking for Ford accessories. Well, I think if you got a truck and I'm doing advertising for boats, I'm going to send you an ad for a boat that looks beautiful behind that truck. Right? Let's give them the thought. Let's give them the thought. There it is.
Let's see. Look at this.
Yep.
We got a dealer over.
That's right. Well, in the boat sale, they're going back to the boat sale. He's not going to go out and buy a boat. It's not summer yet, but you put it there and you show it to him and you remarket it back to him and you show it to him. And then later on, you can look at your data and go, it took me 6 additional times in front of that person and he went and bought a boat. And then you've got data, and that data helps you target it tighter and tighter and tighter. And that's what we're after.
Wow. I always think I'm going to come out of this a little more educated, but I come out a little more confused.
Well, that's not good.
Well, that possibly because we got a little sidetracked. We had started talking a little bit about the different locations for an individual business.
Right.
Set up on it.
Yeah.
And you were asking about the data for that. And basically, the budget, if it's an individual owner, instead of just saying it depends, if it's an individual owner, the best thing to do is to move it where it needs to go. If one location is a lot busier than the other one, that one gets more of the love. If there's one that's a little bit slower, and I'm talking specifically in search here. Right now, my mind just switched over to that because in search, you want it to go wherever it's going to go. Now, if you have one that's a little bit slower over, maybe your West Side store is a little bit slower and you want to try to push up that traffic and you've already gathered up all the search traffic, the only other way to do that is more top of funnel or mid funnel advertising. So then you're going to want to push more to one of your slower stores, trying to push up, its top of funnel traffic to get them to your website so that they know who you are and think of you when they think of
Right.
whatever it is you're trying to push to them.
Yep.
Makes sense, or did I confuse you more?
No. Totally makes sense.
Okay.
No. I got it. I wasn't really confused. I mean, it's complex, right? There's a lot of moving parts. Is all. It's and on that note, I think this podcast it's probably a good jump off point because we could go on forever about this,
And we will.
yeah, for sure. And I think this is another good one in the books, and I look forward. And I think next time, definitely would like to get your guys' feedback and touch in how you're feeling about AI, kind of running ads in lieu of you guys, right? I mean, I'm seeing, well, I'm just seeing a lot of these,
Oh yeah.
a lot of push towards, hey, get rid of your paid ads.
Yeah, but you've also seen the Temu ads where it has two things side by side and they don't make any sense at all and you're not even sure what it is.
Yeah.
It's because AI generated it and it doesn't know what you want.
I'm really curious to see what you guys are
So we got a little race.
threat, because I'm seeing it also on the AI video stuff. Right, there's attacks on all industries. Let's go down. I'm just kind of curious your thoughts. So, our next episode, I'd love to talk about
Okay.
that topic. All right. So, on that note, guys, cheers. Good to see you again.
Good to see you, sir.
All righty. All right. So, till next time, everybody.